6 foods you need to avoid to lose belly fat. So this year I made a complete transformation by losing 10 kilograms of body fat, and one of the reasons was because I cut out these specific foods from my diet, making it a lot easier for me to lose weight. I've also been able to help transform many other men's physiques through helping them cut out these foods as well. So in this video, I'm going to go through the 6 foods that majority of people consume on a daily basis that stops them from losing weight. I'm going to explain the science of why it stops you from losing weight and give you much better alternatives that you can add into your diet so you can start losing the weight. Now you're going to want to stick around for this one. So let's get into it. What's going on, guys? It's TrainerNeal. So before we get started, I'm going to be explaining the process behind losing body fat. Now, when you want to lose fat, you need to be in a caloric deficit, meaning that you need to be consuming less calories than your body burns on a daily basis. Now, there are 2 ways you can do this. The first way is just by eating less. Just eat less food throughout the day. And the second way is just by moving more. So getting any form of exercise in, really, walking, running, cycling, etc. Now, a combination of the 2 would be much more ideal and sustainable for you. So you don't want to be in a huge calorie deficit from food where it becomes difficult for you to complete your day-to-day activities because you have no energy. Nor do you want to be moving so much and exercising so much that you completely drain yourself out. You want to do a combination of both for best results. Remember, the main goal is to lose fat and not muscle mass. So ideally, you want to be consuming high protein, and the carbs and fats can be adjusted depending on your preference. Now here are my calories and macros that have helped me to lose 10 kg of body fat. Now, as you can see, the protein is very high. I have moderate carbs and moderate to low fats. Now, the fats are just enough to keep my hormones balanced and so that I have good brain function. And the carbs are enough so that I have enough energy throughout my day. And the proteins are high enough so that I'm able to recover properly. So firstly, let's get into the 3 types of foods if you want to lose body fat. So the first type of food you should avoid eating is highly processed refined carbohydrates. So things like white bread, white flour, and cereal. So all of these foods contain very little of the original grain, and they will cause a spike in your blood glucose levels, meaning that you're more likely to have a crash throughout the day. And this is why many people feel tired and lethargic, because for a short period of time, they have this burst of energy, and then later on, they feel that crash. And then again, when you consume the food, they have a burst of energy, and then you feel the crash. And this can be a constant cycle. Now, this is definitely not good for your health, and nor will it help you to lose body fat. So better alternatives would include foods like oats, berries, sweet potato. Foods that contain more of the original grain, are less refined, and have higher fiber. And this is because you'll have lower blood glucose spikes throughout your day, meaning that your energy will be constant and you'll have less crashes. So the next food or drink you want to avoid are things that contain simple sugars in them. So for example, chocolates, biscuits, maple syrup, and drinks that contain a high amount of sugar. For example, juices you get from supermarkets. Now, all of these things, let's be honest, taste amazing, but are detrimental to your health and to your fat loss journey. These sugars are highly addictive because when you start consuming them, you feel that you want to consume them more and more. And that's because they're made to be highly addictive. So you just keep consuming them. And that way, you're just going to keep getting fatter and fatter and fatter because you can't stop eating. Now, if you're someone that consumes large quantities of these simple sugary foods and drinks on a weekly basis, then you want to cut down for your own health and so you can lose the weight that you want. You need to realize that your body is addicted to this because of the feeling it gives you, because remember, it spikes your dopamine. So it gives you that instant dopamine hit that makes you feel good. But consuming large quantities of this is destroying your health week by week. Now, I'm not saying to just completely cut it out because that's going to be unsustainable. Now, if you're someone that can do that, then good on you. But for the majority of people, that's going to be very hard to do to completely cut out these refined sugars from your diet. So if you're someone that just eats a lot of it, then just reduce your quantities and have a little bit if you need to. Now, these simple sugars have the same effect of the highly processed carbs that I talked about before. They give you the same blood glucose spike. So it gives you that same spike, and then again, you'll have that same crash. Now, when you do have that crash and you feel tired and lethargic, this actually makes you want to consume even more food because it releases a hunger hormone called ghrelin, which increases your appetite. So the more tired you feel, the more kind of hungry you get, and the more cravings you have for these sugary and these highly processed foods. So that's why you want to try and cut it out as best as you can. And therefore, your body won't keep craving it. Better idea would be to, like I said before, have better alternatives. So things like oats, berries that have, the original grains and higher fiber and higher nutritional content. Third are processed meats or meats that are very high in saturated fats. Especially if you're not on a keto diet, then meats such as bacon or red meat that have a higher fat content, you want to try and avoid, because these foods contain a huge amount of calories per 100 grams. And if your goal is to lose body fat, then you want to be in a calorie deficit. So you want to make your life more simple by avoiding these foods with higher calorie contents. Now, I'm not saying to completely remove fats from your diet. You should still eat good fats such as eggs and avocado, so you can hit that minimum fat threshold on a daily basis, so you can maintain hormonal balance and a good brain function. But if you're someone that consumes a lot of fat on a daily basis, then just reduce your fat content while you're on this fat loss journey to make your life easier, and replace these high fatty foods with foods with higher protein content. For example, lean meat, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, foods that contain a low amount of calories per 100 grams and have a higher protein content. So therefore you can hit your protein target for the day and you can keep losing that body fat. Now I'm going to give you 6 examples of foods and snacks that people consume on a daily basis that are so calorie dense, and is the #1 reason why they're not able to lose body fat, because it shifts them from being in a calorie deficit to being in a calorie surplus by the end of the day. And these are the foods I used to consume, and that's why I cut these foods out and I saw drastic changes and I was able to lose that 10 kg of body fat. Now the first food is nuts, everyone's favorite snack. I've given cashew nuts as an example, but you can also have other nuts such as peanuts, walnuts, almonds. They're all very similar. Now the reason why consuming nuts isn't a good idea if you want to lose weight is because #1, they're just very easy to consume. You can eat them all day long. And next is that they have a high fat content, meaning that they are very calorie dense. Now, while they do contain some protein and have a high amount of fiber, they are just very calorie dense, meaning that it will be very easy for you to overconsume your calories just by snacking on, for example, this packet of nuts. Now, this packet of nuts contains per serving 13.2 grams of fat and 175 calories. Now, per serving is 28 grams. If I was to measure it out in a bowl, then this is 28 grams of nuts. I'm showing to the other camera. It's such a small amount. It's literally maybe the palm of my hand. Yes, the palm of my hand. And I can easily eat that in about, I would say, 2 to 3 minutes. So I would have probably 3 times this amount of nuts very easily in 10 minutes. And while people are watching TV, you just snack on nuts, you'll probably end up eating about 3 times this much. So if this much is 175 calories, then 3 times this would be probably around 500 calories, 450, 500 calories for just 3 times this amount of nuts, which is what I would say most people would eat throughout the day. And 500 calories is, honestly, that's a huge amount. If your caloric maintenance is 2,000 calories, then 500 calories is already a quarter of your caloric maintenance. And this is just a snack, it's not even an entire meal. So you can imagine you'll be in a 300 calorie deficit before the end of the day, and if you just snack on a few nuts, you can be in a caloric surplus very easily, and this is why you're not able to lose the body fat. So yeah, nuts are just very, very high in fats and high in calories, and because they're so easy to consume and consume a lot of them, you want to try and avoid them in your day while you're trying to lose the weight. Now, #2 is granola. So now this used to be my favorite breakfast when I was growing up. And it's basically just oats stuck together with honey, sugar, and other calorific ingredients. Now, although it says fitness and it's meant to be healthy on the packaging, it's really not that healthy. It contains a high amount of sugar and therefore a high amount of calories. Now, just to show you how much sugar and calorie it actually contains, let me read the label out. So you've got 45 grams is 1 serving of this granola packet, and that has 6.1 grams of fat, 14.3 grams of sugar, and 237 calories. Now you're thinking, how much is 45 grams? Well, if I was to weigh it out, this is 45 grams. Now, this, showing the other camera, it's not a lot at all. In fact, it's just about another handful of granola. And for an adult, a fully grown man, this is going to be literally nothing. It's like this is a kid's breakfast, even less than a kid's breakfast. And this is almost 250 calories, 14 grams of sugar. 14 grams of sugar and 250 calories. And it's less than a kid's breakfast. I would again have about 3 times this much when I was eating granola. And even for a fully grown adult, you need around 3 times this much. Now, if you're going to have 3 times this, or even double this, it's 500 calories again. And almost 30 grams of sugar, double this. If you have 3 times this, 750 calories, and God knows how much sugar. That's like 45, 50 grams of sugar just in this amount of granola, and that's an insane amount. You know, that's why, and these again, this is very easy to consume. This packet is very easy to consume. Once you open it, you can just snack on it again all day long. That's what I used to do. You know, I used to have my caloric maintenance or eat just under my caloric maintenance, and I would just think, you know, just a few pieces of granola won't do any harm. But then I started consuming this, and that's why I wasn't able to lose the weight. Now, because they're so easy to consume and they have a high amount of sugar and a high amount of calories, I would suggest to avoid this breakfast as much as you can, because it's just going to add up into your calories and you're going to overconsume your calories by the end of the day. Remember, if you're consuming double this portion, then, or even triple this portion, that's already 500 calories or even 750 calories, and that's already a quarter of your calories gone pretty much. So yeah, I would try and avoid this as much as possible. Now, a better alternative for breakfast would be oats, for example, that don't contain these chemicals and high amounts of sugar and high amounts of honey, or even eggs that just fill you up and have a high amount of protein in them. And you can also supplement the just normal oats with Greek yogurt, and even if you like put a teaspoon of honey, it's still going to be a lot less calorific than having this. Guys, next is some form of healthy chips. Now, here's an example of these protein chips that are meant to be healthy for you. And even on the packaging, it says 13 grams of protein. So you're like, oh wow, 13 grams. But in fact, 13 grams isn't actually that much. And they're very clever with the way they market these things, because they're processed foods, and they actually contain a high amount of fats and calories as well. And although it does have some protein, it's not a huge amount. You can get a lot more protein from lean meats and things that have a higher protein content, like Greek yogurt, and a lower calorie content. For example, this bag of protein chips. Now, I would easily consume this bag in one go. It's very small, and this bag contains 230 calories and 30 grams of carbs, and protein is 13 grams in this one small bag. Now, I would actually, I would eat this in one go, and a lot of people would eat 2 of these, and that's only 26 grams of protein and 500 calories almost. So yeah, I would just avoid this completely, because it's just marketing at the end of the day. It's the way they market it is saying 13 grams. You think it's a lot of protein, but in fact, the amount of protein per calorie in this is very low, and they're not going to market it that way. So just guys, be careful. Don't consume these if you're on a fat loss journey, because again, 1 or 2 of these, one of these is 250 calories, 2 of these is 500 calories, and that's, again, it's a quarter of your calories gone just from a couple of bags of chips. You know, it's not even a meal. It's literally a couple of bags of chips, and a quarter of calories if you're on 2,000 calorie diet, it's gone completely. Avoid this at all costs, and instead have rice cakes. Rice cakes are very low in calories. They don't contain any fats. They don't have that much protein, but they have some carbs, but again, they're just very low in calories. So 4 rice cakes, which are technically, that is how much I used to have, and that was pretty filling actually. That only had 100 calories and about 20 grams of carbs. So guys, eat rice cakes instead of these chips if you're feeling a bit peckish, because that way you can keep your calories low and you'll be able to lose the weight faster. Now, number 4 is peanut butter. Now, this is the same as peanuts, just a little bit more versatile. It has a high amount of fats and therefore a high amount of calories. Now, this is used as a spread on things like sandwiches and burgers, for example. 1 serving of this is 20 grams. Now, that's around half a tablespoon, and I would say most people consume around 1 tablespoon as a spread, which is, I would say, around 40 grams. 40 grams of this contains 230 calories, very high in fats, which is just under 20 grams of fats, 10 grams of protein, and 8 grams of carbs. Now, although it is a source of protein, compared to the calories, it's not a good ratio. A lot more fats and protein in 100 grams. So therefore, if you're consuming this on a daily basis as a spread, you can easily be consuming 200 to 300 calories worth. And this is not even a snack, it's just part of a snack. So that's already a lot of your calories just gone on, you know, a bit of peanut butter. And it may be one of the reasons why you're over consuming your calories. So guys, if you want to lose weight, then I would suggest to avoid this. But if you want to build muscle and bulk up a little bit, then this is actually something good to have. But you need to be careful of how much of the oils that they add into one of these. I would say the organic peanut butters are the better ones to buy. And number 5 on the foods to avoid is high-fat cheese. Now, the most common are cheddar and mozzarella. Now, these cheeses contain a high amount of fats and therefore a high amount of calories as well. Now, in this packet, as you can see, there are a few very thin slices of cheese. Now, one of these thin slices contains 81 calories, has a huge amount of fats, which is 7 grams on just a thin slice, and has around 5 grams of protein and barely any carbs. But the reason why it's high in calories is because of the fats. Now, if you're eating a sandwich or putting it on a burger, then you can easily consume around 3 to 4 slices of these very easily. They're very thin slices of cheese. And 3 to 4 slices would equate to 300, 400 calories. And again, it's not even a snack, it's part of a snack, same as peanut butter. So if you're consuming a lot of these, then you're basically wasting a lot of your calories on these high fatty foods, which you don't want to do. Now, a better alternative to this would be to have low-fat cheese that contain around half the amount of calories or even less, and therefore you won't be exceeding your calories for the day and you can stay in a calorie deficit. So guys, don't have these high-fat cheeses, instead stick to low-fat cheese, and therefore you'll be able to lose body fat much more easily. And finally, on the foods to avoid are these high-calorie sauces, so things like ketchup, barbecue sauce, and even mayonnaise. Now, although you're not going to consume the whole bottle in one go, the calories can still add up if you're putting it on every meal like I do. Now, I've stopped doing that, or I just find better alternatives such as low-calorie sauces or zero-calorie sauces. And therefore, if I'm trying to lose weight, I can stay in a calorie deficit much more easily. Now, if you do put sauces like these on each meal, then the calories can easily add up. So even if you put a little bit of tomato ketchup, which is one serving, about 17 grams, around 20 to 30 calories. Now, if you put that on every single meal, which a lot of people tend to do, then this can easily rack up to 100 to 200 calories worth. And this is just a tiny part of a snack. It's not even a full snack, it's such a small part. So over time, this can easily add up. And therefore, after the entire week, you can actually be in a surplus if you're consuming this every single day. So you need to just be careful on what sauces that you do put on your foods, and make sure you do track the sauces, because a lot of people, again, don't track sauces. They think, it has very low calories in them, but these kind of sauces do have some calories and they can add up. So do track the sauces, and if you're trying to lose body fat, then stick to 0 calorie or very low calorie sauces instead. You can actually get sauces like, same as this ketchup, but 50% with 50% less sugar. And therefore the calories are much lower and much lower in sugar and carbohydrates. So stick to those kind of sauces if you want to lose body fat. Now, just to be clear, I'm not demonizing any of these foods and telling you to completely cut them out of your life. If you're someone trying to lose body fat and you know you're consuming these foods on a regular basis, then just reduce your intake or cut them out for a period of time while you're trying to lose the body fat. If you still want to consume these kind of foods, then just find better alternatives. I've given you some examples of better alternatives of these foods that are much lower in calories. So consume them instead while you're trying to lose the body fat, which will be much more sustainable for you. And once you've lost that body fat and you're happy with your physique, then you can have these foods on occasion. It's no problem. Just don't overconsume them, because that's probably the reason why you have gained all of this fat, because they're very easy to consume, all of these foods, and they're very calorific. So if you want to lose body fat, then just reduce the quantities of them or find better alternatives. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video and it helps give you an insight on the calories and macros of these so-called healthy foods and what foods you need to avoid to lose that stubborn belly fat. Now, ultimately, it still comes down to being in a calorie deficit, but by reducing or avoiding these kind of foods, then it will just help to make staying in a calorie deficit that much easier. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. And if you did find it helpful, then do me a favor and smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel and you like my content, then do me another favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications, because I'm going to be releasing 2 new videos every single week just like this, and you don't want to miss them. And if you want to know how to lose 4 kilograms of fat in just 4 weeks, then I recommend watching this video next. And remember, stay natty, stay clean, and peace.